how fake Ansem, this is where it begins of fake Ansem, because he basically tricks Sora and Riku and basically all of Disneyland that he's the real Ansem. So then once he kind of splits, the darkness kind of takes over and he becomes this fake full Ansem, and then we get Xemnas from that. And we see Xemnas in the game for quite some time, and then we also see time travel Xemnas in the game as well. You said all you need now is the 13 black coat and start explaining in a white room. On God, like low-key, I probably have to make it myself. What if I pull up to fucking what if I pull up to Paris Fashion Week in a fucking Organization 13? That would be so crazy. On God, Xemnas is a baddie, but still evil nonetheless, okay? So now we go down, and from the fake Ansem, like not just double fake, but triple, quadruple fake Ansem, we not only get time travel Ansem, which is quite literally a nobody. So this is a piece derived from this heartless version of them, and he's just walking around just evil as fuck, right? Now we go down and we have Riku, which is a somebody because he was derived from Xehanort, okay? So like, if you will, you could technically say like Riku is his son on some shit. It's really himself, but it's just another dimension, right? Because as we go through all the Kingdom Hearts games, they're basically going through different dimensions and not even really necessarily knowing that, right? Because we're doing a lot of time traveling, we're doing a lot of gum ship shit, right? I was about to make a tongue twister, but I stopped it. Fucking gummy ship. Okay, so let's go back up. Now we have Riku, and then we have evil Riku. You remember that he was possessed by Ansem because then we had to fight him, and it took me about 10 hours to fucking fight evil Riku, and he did not remember Sora whatsoever because he got taken over, right? So then we get to the next part. I think this was 2. No, it was 2. I think it was Kingdom Hearts 2, and he stopped being just regular evil Riku, or it was backwards. He becomes blindfolded Riku, and it's just fake Ansem. And that is just derived from him having to go through the world on his own, and he was basically succumbed by the darkness. And then the evil Riku replica, I said replica, I can't fucking say that word for some reason right now, but this is the overly fake Ansem, right? And saying that because he's derived again from Xehanort, but he's just a carbon copy because he's defeated. Evil Riku replica ghost becomes a nobody. It is a nobody. And this Riku also time travels to becomes a Xehanort vessel, because you remember Xehanort still had a lot of shit up his sleeve, and he was doing a lot of like splitting and dealing with people and talking to people, even going out to try to talk to Mickey Mouse and shit. And you know, you can't step up to the motherfucking king, right? Okay, so the Xehanort Evil Riku replica kind of stops right there because we already know like that's basically his end. But if we go back, right? If we come back over here to blindfolded Riku, these two forms are a little bit different, because I would say he was still kind of nice, but also wasn't. Like, he knew something was off and wrong, but in this version of him, he wasn't a kid anymore. Like, he was a full adult, and he was dealing with the darkness. And Riku basically took his life to be able to save Sora and Kairi, because somebody had to come to terms with the darkness, if you will. So him coming to terms with the darkness, he was already a full person, but he turned into old Riku, which is like the more grown version of him. And we see this Riku kind of back and forth between these forms, right? In Kingdom Hearts 2 and what is it? It's 2 and then the one after that. I don't remember what it's called. But then we get into Data Riku, which is like when we're in the Tron Legacy world and dealing with the bullshit and having to climb up the little digital mountain castle. And we have Dream Eater Riku. Hold on. Yes, okay, yes. So our dream people is basically whenever they were incubated, and basically we're gonna see the dreamlike versions during birth by sleep. And birth by sleep is quite literal, because being birthed by this specific form of sleep, because when he wakes up there is a whole other world that was already made. So remember, our paper got cut into other pieces, and you can't glue those pieces back together. The only way that you can glue the pieces back together is if you were a broken body. So if we use the example for, is it on here? Okay, there we go. Okay, Ventus and Sora, or is it Sleeping Ventus? Basically, putting Ventus and putting him back with Sora ended up creating him to be back to his normal self. Yeah, he was a broken somebody, and he was put back together with the older Sora. But Roxas is a nobody completely. This is his copy from the older Sora, but since he was a nobody and he was derived from Sora, he would go back into him. So yeah, so then he became old Sora. And then Dream Sora is whenever we're gonna see once we start playing again. Yes, it was Chain of Memories. Yes, it was Chain of Memories. That's what I was thinking of. Chain of Memories was a fucking hellhole. Hell loop, honestly. You say, girl, they're gonna think you the Illuminati's. Hey. I got a good memory. I just have a hard time saying it out loud, okay? I could write it down for you, but saying it out loud might be a little tough. But if you remember that fight in the courtyard that Roxas and Sora had, they end up feeling familiar around each other, but there was something wrong to the point to where we had to defeat Roxas in the, I believe, was it was the end of the world, right? Was it end of the world in Kingdom Hearts 2? That world that we traveled before we had to go back to Castle Oblivion and had to fight him with all the fucking street lights and shit like that, and all the Heartless running after us. But he basically took that shit back from him and became a whole person again, a whole somebody. And then later on we go into Yozora, but that don't hurt your brain about that right now. Now going back down, we have older Riku and Data Sora 2. So the Sora Data clone to make analysis, this was also a really trippy situation, but he was derived because of the evil Riku replica ghost. Okay, because there was something wrong and shit didn't make any sense, so he ended up just staying there. But he was from Riku though, and it didn't make any sense, but Sora already had himself a data version of himself, right? So that's why it says 2, because the Sora number 2 from Riku was also because Riku knew that he still had the light inside of him, but it stayed in the data though. And then of course the real Ansem. Oh my god. Fucking fake Ansem the Wise. Low-key, really, once you wrap your head around fake Ansem, it gets pretty easy. Because you see how everything just branches down, and our older Riku is basically the end of that. But within all of the things that happened in Kingdom Hearts, we always knew that Riku had a good heart, even though he literally had darkness in his heart because he's a derivative from Xehanort. But his love for his friends basically kept him alive, honestly. Because this is his first form when we start playing the game in Kingdom Hearts 1. And yeah, then things started deriving once the darkness came, and when Mickey Mouse was basically trying to close all of the worlds and portals to banish the darkness, it became very fucking weird, very hard to keep track of once they started moving across the different realms and dimensions, and not just the places where the gummy ship takes you, like literally just as a whole, like the universe, right? The universe, galaxy. But I could definitely say out of the Xehanort derivatives, these 6 are cool as fuck. Like, they're actually cool. Well, actually, I take that back. Really, Larxene and Marluxia are probably my favorite from them. I think Sykes was he was so pretentious. I'm surprised that they don't have Axel, and yeah, there's some people missing on this chart, but this is basically the most important chart that you're gonna see from Kingdom Hearts, because we can go deeper, but it's just gonna confuse you more. This is just derived from our most important characters, because, like, again, like I said, it really is a clusterfuck. He said Marluxia looking fine. On God, CC, pass him over. Pass him over. You said respect Demix. His comeback gonna be crazy. Bro, comeback gonna be crazy as fuck. Also, irashaimase, konbanwa, konnichiwa. You said reminds me of Final Fantasy. Yes, so these are actually Final Fantasy characters that were derived, because the whole game of Kingdom Hearts is Square Enix teaming up with Disney. So that's why you don't see any Disney characters on this specific chart, because this chart is just speaking on Riku, Sora, and Kairi, and they were derived from Final Fantasy characters. So they're their own characters in the Kingdom Hearts game, because they're the 3 main characters, right? Like, if we're just speaking from the very beginning of Kingdom Hearts, and just like what happened to the world and it getting sucked up by the darkness, right? When they got sucked up by the darkness, it literally only started out with them 3, and Square Enix and Disney couldn't make the main characters be one or the other, so they ended up kind of mixing. So they cartoonized or characterized Final Fantasy characters. You said it's an offshoot of it, almost an alternate Final Fantasy. Yes, because we do have Final Fantasy characters. Some of their names are a little bit interesting and mixed up, because then we get into like we got fucking Lockhart and shit like that. I be forgetting because they switched their fucking names around. So like in this chart, you can definitely take a look at this one. In the first Kingdom Hearts, we literally start off with our base characters. And then next, then we start having our